Are you ready to get your button pushed? You're tuned in to What's the Reason for This, the podcast where music meets madness, friends become family, and every conversation finds its own groove. Kick back, laugh loud, and let's find the reason together. The button has been pushed. Hello and welcome. What's going on, guys? Coming to you live from the dungeon. And if you haven't, make sure that you go and check out our YouTube this week because we had an amazing session with Banshee Tree and an incredible interview with them afterwards. But this week, for this episode, we have none other than Will Mustang McGee. We're not horsing around today, bud. How's it going, Will?
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you, Cody. Happy to be here. Hello,
Nice to
Internet.
Nice, yes, to the internet of the world. What's going on? Man, thank you so much for taking the time, buddy. I know how busy you are, and it's insane because, like, even when you're not busy with Cosmic Country, you're busy on your own stuff. And I need to give you a round of applause because this man is here on an interview the day after your late night lucky show at Dee's Liquor Lounge.
Yes, dude. Yes.
So, how is that playing a late night St. Pat?
I mean, it was fun, you know. I'm your resident Scotch-Irish equestrian American, and so I do enjoy St. Patrick's Day. I might have been enjoying it a little too much yesterday. I don't know why, but I was getting festive.
Eh,
I
Who,
had a
who,
couple green beers. I had a couple green beers, and I had one Irish car bomb last night.
That's what's up. At least you're having a good time, man. And from what I saw, you guys were ripping it up. It was you and Sugar Leg, but who else was playing with you guys?
So let me just premise that question with this. So I put my record out this last year, right? And it took me a while to kind of find the band to start playing this stuff out live. And, it's also difficult because once you're at a certain point kind of in your career, you're on the road a lot. And then a lot of your friends who are kind of like playing at this level where that's what you really want in a group with you, they're also on the road a lot. So it was kind of a long journey towards like figuring out the right pieces and stuff. But we have an amazing group together right now. So yeah, we have Sugar on keys, of course, and that is Prince Parker on the left-handed Stratocaster, and that's Logan Todd on drums. And yeah, Logan's a guy I've known for a long time, and Prince is a guy I've been watching play for a couple years now, and like we've hit about 6 of these shows at D's right now, and it's going amazing.
That's awesome. And it's fun to see because although all these different parts are coming together at different times, right? You can't really tell that when you're on stage. I'm saying, sure, for a musician, you guys know, "Oh, we missed this, or this was hit wrong, or this pit, whatever it was." But for us as fans, like, you could not know. And it's fitting that that album you're talking about is called Horseplay, right? And so it's kind of fun. And for me, what I love is like, yes, you are on this rocket, which is Daniel Donato Cosmic Country, right? Which is creating its own genre. And we're going to talk about that later. But I really wanted to talk about this Horseplay album because for me, it really shows what I think is your foundation for music and knowing where you grew up and kind of where you came from and then listening to this album, it's really quite fun. So you are from Memphis, Tennessee, right? Although you live
That's
in
right.
Nashville, correct? Yeah, so you already have a little bit of soul in this R&B inside of you from when you were growing up, correct?
Oh yeah, big time. I've always it really starts with like me and my dad. He's not a musician per se. Like he blows a little harmonica when his spirits are up, but he's a big music collector, and so just I've watched him just collect music for a really long time. I watched all of his like formats changing from like I remember watching a big stack of cassette tapes turn into a big stack of CDs, turn into floppy disks, and turn into like music library software. And he's always had a big collection of music, so that kind of put me on that path early on. I would say, yeah, he really put me on to Memphis music. And when I was a kid and I first started playing bass, I was like, who's the best bass player in the world? And he's like, that's Donald Duck Dunn from Memphis, Tennessee, son. And
That's
so I always had I have always kind of had a home team almost pride about Memphis music because there really is just so much amazing history to dive into.
Well, and that's why when I talk to my friends, when I'm trying to explain like cosmic country, or specifically you as a bassist, right? Like, I always say that you have this old soul, right? Because the way that you play the bass and like the rhythm and the beats that you're like laying down, you can tell that you've listened foundationally to other great bass players, right? And so like you didn't just come and like put what you were putting together. You had heard things and then you start interlacing all those together. So if you would have to give us like three bassists that you really like try to critique your play after, is there people that you could do that with?
Yeah, I mean, when I went to music school, so I went all the way. I studied bass in college. I literally have a degree in the bass guitar,
That's
which is
wild.
fun, which is funny because I'm like, thank God I'm actually using this every day.
You're not waiting tables talking to people about your side project on the weekends?
Well, I'm not above that though. But
No,
yes, I
not at
am.
all. And that's what I'm saying is like that's where so many musicians are at. And you're like, wow, this dude that just served me dinner gave me his band link and they absolutely rip. But that's where you have to put in that time, right? And I'm not talking down to the working class musicians because
Of
realistically,
course.
there's only a very, very few of them that even get to tour nationally, right? As much as like van life sucks, there are bands that would love to go on the road nonstop, right? But
Yeah.
it is that balance. So I'm not trying to talk shit in any ways, but what I am trying to do is like find out who were some of those influential bassists for you to start creating this sound and like that pushed you. Did you go to Belmont University? Where'd you go to school?
Yeah, so I went to Belmont. Yeah, I got to study there with Roy Vogt and Adam Nitty and an upright bass player named Victor Kraus. And that was like the big question on my mind in those days when I went there. I had been, listening to a lot of music, playing in bands. And really, like when I first moved to Nashville, I was kind of had my heart set on figuring out how to be a session musician. And so I listened to a lot of like session bass players. And what I love about those guys, and I'll get more specific here, but what I love about them is like they go to work every day and they have a brand new song to work on. It's probably a different artist than it was yesterday, who's a different artist from who they're going to work with later that afternoon. And like, I always admired people that had like a big catalog with a lot of diversity and were able to play like multiple styles. So, a big guy for me, for example, is Chuck Rainey, who played, most people probably know him from playing on Steely Dan's Asia. And so when I was like first at college, that's what I was asking my teachers. That's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, how do you play in this way where, you have these guys that are taking on sometimes like a pretty harmonically complex song, like not just a straight country tune, because I really was not, I was not like a super passionate country fan when I first moved to Nashville either. I was more like a 60s R&B, like Motown, West Coast, Wrecking Crew, Muscle Shoals, Swampers, Memphis, Tennessee, MGs, like all of like this stuff from like the country soul triangle and these scenes that really were like big in like the 60s and 70s. So like for me, my like Mount Rushmore is going to be like James Jamerson, Chuck Rainey. There's a guy called Jerry Jamat, who has played on a bunch of session songs. He's played with artists like King Curtis and Aretha Franklin. King Curtis was actually Aretha Franklin's band leader, so he was in both of their bands. And he was actually Jaco Pastorius's idol on bass. There's a famous bass instructional video called, I think it's called Jaco Pastorius Modern Bass. And Jerry Jamat is the guy sitting opposite of him, interviewing him in the whole instructional video. So, long story short, yeah, go check that out. It's actually a fascinating. I mean, just like learning bass, it's a fascinating thing to watch. I think you can find it on YouTube. You can pirate it on YouTube. But it's also comes from a very interesting time because that's a time when Jocko's mental health was kind of in decline and they actually like pulled him out of a mental health facility to have him film this instructional video kind of before he was like too far down a certain path. And it's interesting seeing him just like talk to who his hero is in that context. But that tape was a big tape for me. I definitely burned that tape back up in the day. And Jocko, of course, is a huge inspiration for me, especially as I come kind of out of my main influences, which we can talk more about that stuff too. But yeah, all that 60s R&B stuff is kind of what informs the rock, which informs the fusion, which creates the fusion bands, which leads to the jam bands. So
Well,
I
and then
will
you
eventually get caught up on jam bands, but I'm still like deep in the past right now, trying to.
But that's actually what's so cool, right? And you guys as musicians, you call it like your vocabulary, right? Like these different verticals, these different genres, these different foundations of where you're picking up some of these tunes and these jams, and then you're just increasing your vocabulary, right? Because then for a band like Cosmic Country, you guys go on these transcending jams, right? And now what's crazy is I always say the bassist is the backbone. You're so much more than that for this band, right? Because you're also harmonizing vocals, and we've had Daniel talk about you and your songwriting, some of this, but I want to double back to Horseplay because with Horseplay, I feel like this let us see that R&B side of you. This let us see that Memphis soul, right? And like we see it on some of the songs that you get to cover, but this was a whole album that you got to put out. And I wanted to ask you because like it's so different than what we're used to hearing you, but it's not. So like for you as a musician, how does it help you to stay like true to yourself or where you came from, but also true to the musician of this band that's on this rocket ship?
Yes, I mean, it all is a very intertwined thing, and I'm lucky with Cosmic Country and with Daniel. We have a very like open mind for the stage too, so I'm able to bring songs in there, and I'm even able to bring some of these Horseplay songs and incorporate that in the show. Like for a long time is one that we hit often in a Cosmic Country show, and it is a different side. I mean, that is like me deep in my Memphis bag. But I think, most musicians know you sort of have to cobble together your livelihood to begin with. So, for some people, that means being the kind of side musician that can participate in a lot of different projects and play in a lot of different bands. But if you have kind of more of a songwriter mindset and you're trying to create songs, that kind of puts it back on you in that way. So, I mean, it's just great to have an outlet to chase. I have so many outlets to chase down any song idea I have. I might write a song and be like, oh, that sounds like a Cosmic Country song. Like, that would be great to bring to Daniel and the guys and work on that one together and see where that goes. And then there's some other songs where I'm like, this sounds kind of like something else. So I'll bank that over here, and I just use my own solo artistry to kind of explore those other things.
So for you in the process of writing, how is it? Does something just come to you? I love finding out because sometimes people are like, oh, I hear this lick or I hear this tone or I have this sentence that I heard. For you, when you're writing, how are you tapping into that? And what's the process like for you as you're starting to put this creativity down?
Well, let me think. It usually definitely it starts with an idea. I usually have one line that pops in my head, and
Do you
and
have an
off.
example of one that you like, here's the line and it led to this song?
Well, let me just say, with the Horseplay stuff at that time, that was like a little earlier in my process even, and I think that you can hear this on any one of the songs. But at that time, I was really starting from line one every time. Like my first idea would be the first line of the song,
Wow,
and I
that's
really, I really try to have those first lines that like really say something different and like really hook you into like what's going on lyrically, from the start of the song. So I think, if you look at any one of those songs on Horseplay, I really just tried to have the most devastating first line I could have every time. I just want to kick the door open. And
well, you're paying to our short attention span, right? And like the streaming society that we live in now in America, where it's like instant gratification. So if you don't have this like banger of an opening line, there's so many people that just like on to the next one, right? It's pretty
Yeah,
pathetic.
yeah, and it's like, I try to keep that kind of thing in mind, but I also try to completely forget it. And, it really for me is like that first line, it's just like it's like the portal opens. I see that information and it starts coming in waves like right away. Like I can spit out a verse really fast a lot of the times. Where I really have to like get into the craft is kind of figuring out the chorus that ties the idea together. I'll have like some crazy stream of consciousness verse just fall in my lap, and then I'm like, what am I really talking about here? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And then that's where I sort of have all these tricks where I can, keep the song moving, because I really believe like you gotta try when the inspiration strikes, you gotta try and get as much of it down as you possibly can. And that's not so much like making a full produced demo and like programming drums and writing everyone's parts and being like, all right, now it's the finished song that's ready to share. It's more with just getting the whole idea out, as much of it as you can, pulling it through this portal and just trying to keep the portal open and just getting as much of that as you can out in that session while you're kind of accessing that headspace, and then after that you get into like an editing process where you're just kind of tightening things up, and hopefully you've got some people to play with that you can really make some broad stroke decisions together on the way the song sounds, instead of just building it vertically. Like, I have a lot of respect for people that can make music all on their own and kind of cover all those bases, and I like doing that as well, but I'm trying to leave it more open to have people fill in those blanks with me.
And so then there's obviously a difference between Cosmic Country and like Horseplay and some of your other gigs, because like, okay, with them, the three others that you're going to sit and chat with, right? But on some of these other individual projects, then you're pulling in buddies that can, or sometimes people get part of like writing co-ops and things like that. And so is it a different process when you like hear it and you're like, oh, that's a Cosmic Country song, or oh, this is going to be a little bit different? How do you get to the finish line down those separate paths?
Well, with Cosmic, if I just show up with a song, we have so many hours together, we can just get to work right away. And that's how it goes a lot of time with Cosmic Country. When a new song comes up, like we're playing it in the green room or something, and then maybe playing it at sound check, and then we might be playing it on stage that night in front of like 1,000 people.
Of course, and
So
that just goes to
everyone is
show.
just kind of fearless like that in that camp. They're just ready to take it on, and there's so much trust there, that you just know when you bring a song to that group of musicians that everyone's going to take care of their little corner of it, and it's going to be in a good place.
But so then for you with Horseplay, curating like the track list, right? And you said that this was happening a little bit more early on in your process. So did you have some of these in your bag that you were just waiting to record? How did you end up picking the tracks that you did? Because you even have Kingfish playing on one of those songs,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
you? That dude is
Yes.
an absolute ripper. Like,
Yes.
and so, how do you find like which tracks you're going to lay down, and then like where you're going to have some of these people sit in the evolution of Mustang's band?
I really like try to have a kind of old school approach to that, where I'm in Nashville. This is where songwriting happens in a big way, and there's a lot of ideas about songwriting here, and I've definitely learned a lot from that. But I also find that I feel like some artists, and there might be artists with like a label backing or something, that's kind of like putting priorities in the artist's brain and stuff, and sometimes I find that those people like end up writing a shit ton of songs to record one album. You might have a 10 song album but write 30 songs for it. And I kind of like the Paul McCartney approach, where like Paul McCartney is like one of my biggest idols, obviously on bass. I forgot he's on my Mount Rushmore of bass too, but also as a songwriter and a producer, like I admire him a lot. There's a great new documentary that just dropped on Paul, and he's
Dude,
talking
it's
about
so
the Wings years and like just really the years after the Beatles. He just like finished the biggest moment in his career, and he's starting over on music and stuff, and like he really just followed his heart on it. And it seems like he would just write like about 13 songs, and it's like, that is a chapter of my life. Like those 13 songs are my next thing. It's not like every single song is a hit like the way maybe like a label would be grateful for if every song on your record was you prioritize tracks that were like very commercial or kind of like scratch that itch perfectly for like radio and stuff. Like, I mean, I think that's definitely a priority, and I try to think about that when I'm creating the song, but I really just try to capture them for what they are and just get a big pile of them together and like really just let that be what it is. And like for Horseplay, that was music I was writing with my old band, Forest Fire Gospel Choir. That's when we started writing those songs. And then in 2019, that band called it quits, but I still had some of the guys from that come record on the record for me. That was a big step for us because it was a big risk, you know? It was like, we're gonna pay for this studio time and, you know, really do this thing instead of just doing the DIY thing. I've always like really liked and valued the studio space where you can live track stuff and just make big song decisions all together about like tempo and like the arrangement and stuff. It's kind of hard to piece that together when you're doing that sort of like one chunk at a time, Pro Tools at home version of doing things.
So did you guys do it all individually, track it individually, or did you play together and then track different parts individually? How did you actually record that?
Yeah, it was pretty like classic setup. We like captured the drums and bass for every track, got the rhythm tracks, I got the rhythm guitar down, and then it was kind of a matter of just making different texture choices with keyboards on certain songs, and then I just had a long session of doing the background vocals on all of that stuff. And you know, then you're just really looking at it like a movie, you know, you're looking at these scenes, and like it's funny when you're in a studio situation like that, the choices that you make where it's like, okay, this is the keyboard sound of this record, that's the one that's going to be like a through line there. You have moments like that where you find something that's going to like add to the continuity of everything, and then you have moments in songs where you know, you're trying to create this kind of sparkle with some production idea. Like, for example, there's a song on Horseplay called Waking Up.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a tough song for me. Like, that was kind of the song I was the least sure of when we were working on that record. So, just to preface before that,
Why was that, Will?
I just didn't hear it. I wrote it, but I just didn't think it was like the best. You know, I was kind of like, this one's just okay. And I got to work with an amazing producer on this whole thing. His name's Boo Mitchell. He lives in Memphis, and his family's had a studio called Royal Studios for a long time. They did Al Green's music.
Al Green, yeah, that Al Green recording.
Yeah, so very historic spot and like tons of mojo, and I've known him for a long time being from Memphis, and you know, I just knew when I wanted to do it that I wanted to do it with him. And he's had an amazing career himself, and like he worked on Uptown Funk with Bruno Mars and Mark Ronson. He actually just won a Grammy for the soundtrack of Sinners.
Wow, yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and you know, so I knew he was going to be great, and a great example of just how much he added to the whole project. We were working on that song, and I was just like, it's the song starts out, I'm like really low in my register, so I'm like a little self-conscious about that kind of stuff. And then he showed me this Prince song called, I can't even remember, it's called like Snow in April or something like that. And because I was telling him, I was like, I just don't know about this track, man. And he's like, no, listen to this Prince song. So we put it on, and it was this very chill, like, starts out very acoustic, like a way I've never heard Prince before, but it just like gave me this context to aim the song at and try and take it in that direction. And then it ended up being one of my favorite songs on the record. And that song is like very Paul McCartney inspired in the way that it has sort of a part one and a part two.
Yeah.
And it goes into like a weird time signature and a key change in the second half of it. And I knew that was something I knew I wanted to do from the beginning, but it was like trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. And so the like, way that we ended up, the way we ended up accomplishing that transition was so cool, though. It's like such a great record moment where like, so you know that there's a thing called a vibra slap. It's that thing you hit and it goes, you know, it has that sound to it. Boo had a rule. He's like, we had the vibra slap in the studio, and he's like, only one vibra slap per record.
That's awesome.
You know, you only get to hit it one. You can't be hitting this thing on every song, which is funny. That would be like if a movie just had the same thing happening in every scene. You would be like, this movie is weird. Like, so we put the microphone up, we have the vibra slap, we hit it and recorded it, and then we put this like infinite reverb on it to where it just like went and went and went and went. It's like, and that just creates this amazing texture that takes you from part one to part two. So it's like, that's really the magic of being in there and like just feeling really inspired and like kind of like doing something stupid that is awesome.
Yeah, but musicians are artists, right? And what you're doing is creating art. And like a lot of the times there's artists that are forced to by the man, right? To make money. Here, I'm going to tell you what type of art to make. And some people are perfectly fine with that. But other artists are like, no, I just need to let my creativity flow and I need to see where this takes me, right? And that's what's beautiful about having some of these side projects, because you can scratch different itches that you have as a musician, right? And now you can start to do things and start to get these different feelings, because you may not be able to do something like that with the band that you're touring with, but now when you come home and you have off time, you can invest your time into that. How important is it for you to like keep your mental balance though? Because you guys are, I mean, Daniel Donato and Cosmic Country hits over 100 shows every year for the last 4 or 5 years, right? So I don't even know, you joined in 2021, correct?
Yeah.
Right out of COVID. And you guys have been blowing up. And what was fun with that band is it's really hard to like classify who Cosmic Country was, right? Like I always, people are like, oh well, who is this band? And I was like, man, it's like rockabilly, psychedelic, like it was really hard to, but that was what was so great about it, right? Because now we could come and see your live shows. You guys were touring constantly, right? And so then like to see that vibe and being such a jam forward band where I feel like a lot of that stuff is happening on stage. The last 4 years, to see the levels that you guys just keep getting better and better and tighter. And then you found your sounds and your grooves. And now like the way that you can take over a crowd, we were just lucky enough. I emceed WinterWonderGrass and you guys came out for, I think it was the 4th year in a row, right? That you guys have played WinterWonderGrass?
I want to say, golly, let me think. And then that super snowy one.
The snowy one, I was there, buddy. That was insane. And then the wind stopped everything.
Yes, it was 4, wasn't it? I think yes, it was 4. Yeah.
It was the 4th year. Yeah, dude, it is insane. But like, I remember being super sad because I think you guys played Boulder the Saturday night before the infamous Carrot show. But you guys played Dancing in the Desert, and I was like, damn it! Like that's such a good festival song. I was like, there's no way that they're gonna come out. Not only did you guys blow up Dancing in the Desert the day later, but you also pulled out one of my favorites as a Star Wars nerd, the Cantina Band. Dude, I was sitting side stage with the Mountain Grass Unit boys, and I am positive that you turned, you looked at Sam, smiled, and then you guys just went right into it.
Yeah. Oh man, that was such a funny moment because like I was the one. This is an exclusive to what's the reason for this, but I was the one that killed Cantina Band in our set
You're
list.
the one you have to blame?
I was. I'm the one. I'll take the heat. I just there was a time we literally added that song for like a May the 4th Be With You show, and it was great. I mean, it was awesome. You know, we kept playing it for a while and it was really fun, but there was a point where it was just in our set so much, and I just was made this plea sort of like, I think there's just other stuff we need to be working on. Like this one comes up a lot and it's really silly and fun and like we all love playing it, but it was just kind of like, you know, let's just try and add more stuff. Let's not worry about that song for a while. And then that just kind of like went on and on. I mean, everybody kind of like took my word for that. Like, all right, let's not play that anymore, which was funny. And it was honestly funny when it became like people really want to hear that song again. And we just like waited for so long and like not really even thinking about it that much, just like moving on to other stuff. And then suddenly there's a 300 show gap since the last time we played Cantina Band. And, dude, this is like
Literally
the day
starving us.
before the day before WinterWonderGrass, we were just like all hanging out and we started talking about Cantina Band, and we just decided that night, like, dude, let's just do it tomorrow. Like, let's do it. It's been so long. I think people will love it. And I was all on board. I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, I'm super down. And so we made the decision the night before that we were going to do it tomorrow. And we all practiced it the next day and like because
Jury
it's
and
been
Luke
so
were
long.
Drew and Luke were listening in onto your trailer to your green room, and they're like, "No, we're gonna play it before them."
No, it was honestly the other way around. What's funny is it's been so long since we played that song. Bronco has never even played it with us. That we haven't played that since Noah
Wild!
was
It's
still in the
actually
band.
300 shows. That's crazy.
That was literally his first Cantina Band was WinterWonderGrass.
That's
But
fucking
so we had the plan to do it, and even in the morning, we're rehearsing the song in the back of the bus, and all of a sudden we're all sitting there chilling, talking later. Mountain Grass Unit is playing, and I start hearing the bass through the wall of the bus, the boom, 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 and I was like, no way, they are playing Cantina Band right now. And I'd seen some videos online where I guess they do it sometimes too, which, and you know, it's anybody should play that song. It's fun. But it was just so funny because we were like, what are the chances that like last night we decide to break this 300 show gap and then they play it right before us? So then we were kind of in an existential crisis for a second because it's like, well, do we play it or not? Like, are we gonna do it? Like, and it was kind of like, I don't know, it's probably weird if people hear that song twice. But then, you know, we're just thinking, we're at a bluegrass festival right now, and it's very normal at a bluegrass festival. You're gonna hear a couple rolling in my sweet baby's arms, you're gonna hear a couple dig a hole in the meadows, you know, they have these standard things. So we just decided, like, no, let's just let it rip Bluegrass Fest style. We're just also gonna hit it. And Sam's a great guy. I've been becoming good buddies with Sam. He came out to the show last night, actually. But he's standing side stage, and I know we're about to go into Cantina Band. So you're right. I looked over at him, and I literally gave him the like, watch this. And then we hit our Cantina Band. And at one point in the jam, I turned over to him, and he was just going.
yeah. No, I was, dude, I was right there. It was the best. It was
It was so
awesome.
awesome. And they were really good sports about it. Like, we all just laughed about it later.
And that's what's so cool. And but that's also what's so fun about these festival sets, right? Is because you can kind of intertwine, and that's where people don't really realize how close of a community our musicians and our bands are. Like, you guys are all seeing the same people over and over again at the same sets, at the same shows, at the same festivals. And it really becomes like this family. And so like I always talk about like the intermingling of all these sit-ins and all this stuff, and that's literally one of my favorite parts. And so seeing you guys do that, being there for that moment with Sam and like catching that, I was like hilarious. And then for you guys, I feel like it was like a 17-minute dance in the desert. And watching that entire sold out crowd just bouncing, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
you guys just going in. Daniel got into his riff. He flipped his hat off. You immediately, that's my cue, ripped your hat off and like get into it. And like, I love how much you guys command your stage presence with the crowd, and how you like people really feel involved with your music. And like, there's a lot to it. And Cosmic Country has some amazing fans, and it's a fun scene, right? So I talked about the carrot thing. I need to ask about that because when I asked Daniel about it after the show, he looks at me and he goes, "You know, Cody, carrot's just a root vegetable." And I was like, "God damn it, you are not feeding me anything at all." But what the fuck happened? Because that's how I introed you guys. I didn't get to go to the show because I was emceeing the night before, and I had buddies at the show, and they're like, they just did a solo with a carrot. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I saw the videos. So like, how did this, was it, did somebody bring carrots for Cosmo, or like, what was it?
So it's kind of was like starts as an inside joke that's kind of leaked out to the fans and like really just kind of become part of our culture. And we've always called the rhythm section the horses, which is just like as long as I've played with Daniel, we've always kind of had like a silly, like abstract way of thinking about how our little group functions together. And like that's sort of one of the philosophies that developed is like the horses are the ones pulling the wagon, which obviously we call it horses because it's me, Mustang, and Bronco, Will Clark. So those are your two horses. And we really just have this mindset of like it's literally so ridiculous how much I've thought about this in my life, seriously. But like, it's like the horse mindset is like sometimes you got to run free and wild, and sometimes you have something, you're a beast of burden. You're literally playing support and you're pulling the wagon, you're pulling things forward. And like that's like just been kind of a weird little color of our cosmic culture. So we developed
trying to fucking hit his drum with that flimsy ass carrot.
I know it's not great for drums. You can hit a drum 1.5 times with a carrot before the carrot explodes, is what we figured out. But so Daniel and his dad are able to do amazing computer programming work together. He developed a website that we use called Daniel Base, which is where our fans can track the shows they've been to and really just kind of nerd out on data about Cosmic Country.
Listen to the shows, there's all sorts of stuff in it.
Yeah, you can stream the show there now every night. But one of the hot things about it is the chat is very lively in Daniel Base. And I've even seen people at the shows. They're physically there at the shows, but they have their phone out and are on the chat and participating in the chat. And when we're live streaming and the rhythm section is like hitting a particular, peak or something, things are just really going off, the chat, everyone starts dropping carrots in the chat because they want to feed the horses. That's their way of saying thank you, and their way of saying it's their version. Those are our roses. Those carrots are our roses. So that was the first time it ever manifested like that. At the Boulder Theater, I just look in the front row. I'm like, why? How did all these people get carrots in here? And then at certain points in the jam, like a raw carrot has that long leaf on it. It has that long stem. So people were throwing them and they were like paper airplanes. They were like perfectly flying through the air and just dropping on the stage. And I just felt like an opera prima donna or something. People were like throwing roses up to us, except it was fucking carrots.
That's so beautiful. That is so fucking beautiful.
And I just love it. I mean, I just love how creative our fans are and like how passionate they are. And they always want us to know that they're with us, and like that just little expression of gratitude via throwing a carrot at me is hilarious to me, and I love it. I don't want to get hit in the eye with one of those things, though. They are pointy, so yes, I would just say if you're coming to a show with carrots, just aim low, because I just watched some country singer the other day, some video just got decked in the face with someone's cell phone, and I'm just like, I hope that never happens to me.
I think that your fans are much smarter than that, but it's also cool because like that feeling, and I always say that it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Like between us as fans and you as musicians, because you guys give us the music, you give us something that we're so passionate about, that we love. You help us find some of our best friends, right? By connecting over music and going to shows. And then for us, especially in Colorado, I know that we're rowdy. As my co-host Shay, if he was here, he goes, we train for this shit, right? And like Colorado is a whole different breed, but like we come with an energy because we get so much back, but it's also fun to like see you guys as musicians feeding off that energy, being like, fuck yeah, all right, let's get after it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really like what, the stage presence and then the hats flying off, that's really coming from the crowd. You're just getting so much energy off of them. Your fucking cowboy hat flies off your head. And I mean, we just feed off of that. That's what's beautiful about our scene and about this music we get to play for everyone, is like, it's really happening right now and we're all together on it. And that energy is just so authentic and it's intoxicating. I mean, it will make you act like a crazy person when you have that much, a room full of energy just like coming at you like that. It just goes through your body,
Well, and I love it because all of you guys wear your emotions on your sleeve, right? Like you can see it on your faces when you guys are getting after it. Daniel's cracking a big smile when he's having fun, right? And it's that just feeds into it even more, and like the good vibes are there, and it's super special, right? And like obviously you guys just released another extensive tour where you guys are going out, you're hitting all, dude, so many shows. So how do you keep sane, right? Like what are you doing when you guys aren't playing music to like to still be able to like pull away, like you talked about Jocko, right? And mental health. Like it is a real thing. And so like a lot of us as fans don't realize, I mean, some of us are lucky enough to go and travel and hit the road and do all these shows and travel as much as you guys are traveling. But for others, we're just sitting in our hometowns waiting for you guys to come to us, right? But like how do you find that balance between like touring and like regular life?
I think there's some things that you just got to get out of your system before it's too much, before in the early days we might have like partied a little more in terms of like when you're just a young musician on the road kind of for the first time, everything is so shiny and new, and like you want to just go to every after party and do everything. But I think when you have a schedule like ours and so many years of that, the feeling of it being your job and your responsibility kind of settles in, and it's like I get to go to a party every night basically, so that's my party. And I think you just kind of have to protect yourself on the road, and you got to protect your energy too. It's like it can be fun to get excited about stuff, but you don't want to be on show number 3 with a 2-day hangover and you got 3 more shows that week. So I think you just kind of grow into the responsibility of it and just learn how to have fun responsibly. And like the number one thing is just like trying to sleep, making sure you're getting enough sleep that's very key for me. So like, and it's a crazy schedule, it's like my fiance thinks I'm nuts sometimes because I'm going to bed at 2 a.m. tonight. Pretty good night for me. And I might have to sleep until noon just to like make sure that
hours.
Yeah,
I mean, such a cranky bitch without sleep, and so I made the mistake of going way too hard on Saturday night at WinterWonderGrass. It was Magoo and MGU, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm putting my phone away. I'm gonna have a good time and like not work." And then my not working then led to being, it's 8 o'clock the next morning. I still haven't slept, and now I need to go to work, right?
Fuck, that's like my nightmare.
Dude, and so I went through, my wife called me. She goes, Why is there a green light on your Instagram Messenger right now? And I was like, I just woke up. I just took a shower. She's like, God damn it, you didn't sleep, did you? I was like, I promise I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. And I got through Sunday, but holy shit, like the difference between like work and play is definitely a real thing.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hey,
I mean,
sorry. Wait. Before you answer that, I have somebody upstairs. Can you give me a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Hello, Internet. Please go ahead and check out Horseplay. We've been talking about the album. You can find it anywhere you stream music. Go check it out. This is my grandmother's painting. I love it. It's all these leisurely samurai just hanging out. Shout out Rooster Walk.
Sorry, buddy. My daughters just got home, and I wanted to make sure that they weren't making too much noise.
All good.
All right. So finding that balance between work and play is like really important, right? And so
yeah.
How are you doing that? Because like you said, every night can be a party. That can be tempting, right? But then also there's got to be other things that you're doing to still feel like you're living like a normal life. Like I always joke when I'm on the road or doing multiple shows, I'm like, I need to eat fucking vegetables. Like because
yeah, it's something green.
Yes, like because I can eat clean when I'm at home, but then you go out and it's like, what's quick, what's easy, what's available, right? And I'm sure for you, that's like a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit easier now with just the way that our travel works. We're able to like kind of control. There was many years of pilot, truck stop, hot dogs, and stuff like that. But, everyone in Cosmic is really trying to like just live as their best life and try and take care of themselves. So we really all have a good mindset about the whole food thing and like trying to eat some good stuff and are able to, get what we need to eat there on the road and like just our pre-show meals and whatnot. But also just like when you look at a tour like we just did, it's like 4.5 weeks. It's pretty dense on the shows. Some of them are going to be really fun nights, and it's just being an adult, man. You just got to prioritize your fun. I know when I'm going to WinterWonderGrass, the backstage hang at the late night show at WinterWonderGrass is one of the most legendary hangs of all time. And like you were saying, like, you get to hang out with all these musicians at festivals and stuff. It's like, that is true, but also like not always, because sometimes, you're just in and out of something like that. And even though it's this big community night, maybe your tour schedule doesn't allow for the hanging out. But WinterWonderGrass seems to be like a place where I get together with all of those people I've been seeing throughout the year, and we just have a massive hang sesh. And I think that we just drive them crazy at that hotel too, because we pack out that back hallway green room is always just packed to the gills with everybody playing the festival.
Yes, no, it is literally just filled. But it's cool because it's like inviting, and I love what Scotty has been able to do, creating that sense of community, right? And it's a different vibe. And so it's super cool, and I was super blessed for them to have asked me to be a part of it, and like I was blown away by any of that, but it was awesome. But like for you guys, that's just one stop, right? And so like
Yeah.
now this summer, you guys have a bunch of festivals. You have Camp Cosmic. You have a lot of stuff that's coming up for Cosmic Country. Is there any like show, and I know every show is great and every venue is amazing, but is there one or two that you really look forward to that you like because of the vibe, or maybe the venue, or maybe there's some place that you love to eat that you're like, hey, every time I go to Charlotte, I'm going here, right?
Yeah. I mean, just coming up, I'm pretty excited about this Beacon Theater hit we're about to have. We've just been really, really looking forward to that. And like any chance to like just kind of knock something off the bucket list like that is just always going to be an amazing show. But I always look forward also to just any nights where we have multiple nights in a city, because you really get to see the people and like actually have a chance to walk around and stuff, because that's a big part of like taking care of yourself too. It's like, I mean, I would love to like party all night and wake up and hit a hiking trail and hit a local restaurant and go hang gliding and record store shopping, but it's like you got to pick your priorities. And like, I get so much energy out of a show, I always like try to prioritize that, because I know that's what's important to me, and that's really what makes me happy. I mean, that's why I'm doing all this traveling. As much as I love seeing these cities, like I love playing these shows.
Is your fiance traveling with you at all?
Yeah, she comes out and stuff, and that's always a really fun time. We had all the girls come up for we just did 2 shows at the Troubadour on Valentine's Day, so that's always fun. But you know what? That was a night where my priorities were not that great. A couple days before that, I really missed out on some sleep, because sleeping on that bus too, it's like sometimes it's just a rough drive and it doesn't happen. And I'm kind of a princess in the pea sleeper. It's like if the blanket's touching my leg the wrong way, I can't sleep. Like, so I was, that was a tough one, because we had the girls in town, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so low energy right now. I was kind of sick, but we still had a great time, and yeah, we try to get our wives and fiancés out when we can. They're coming up for Camp Cosmic. We're about to do Outlaw Cruise. I get to take the fiancé on a pre-wedding honeymoon on a little cruise trip. So going down to Belize and Honduras.
That's what's up. What part of Honduras? Is it the Bay Islands?
Oh, I don't even know. I mean, it's got to be something coastal. I'd have
Yeah,
to check.
I'm pretty sure it's Roatan. The reason I ask is my dad owns a dive shop on Utila, which is the sister island to Roatan.
Wait, really? Because I
Yeah,
really
but
want to go snorkeling. I'm not scuba certified, so I can't
yeah,
scuba
no, but
dive.
even the snorkeling is beautiful down there. But you're more than likely in Roatan. I'll shoot you some messages, and I'm sure I can hook you up with somebody on the
Dude,
island.
hook it up. I really want to do this snorkeling this time. I haven't been able to go.
So my baby brother is literally down there now. So I wonder what we'll figure that out. But like that's what's fun is you have to have hobbies outside of music. So is there one thing that you really rely, because you already talked about hiking or going to record stores. Well, record stores is just finding new music. Yeah, I love your social media because you talked earlier about being a Beatles fan. There's a great video of you naming Beatles songs within a second, right? I also love you talking about new music to me because for me, like I always ask people, I'm like, man, I'm just a junkie. Like I'll listen to whatever you send me. I don't care what genre it is. Like send me those suggestions. But for you outside of music, what is there that's something that really makes your soul shine? Other than your fiance, of course.
Well, I love art a lot. I like to draw and stuff, and my fiance is a great visual artist and tattoo artist, and she is definitely, as long as she's been in my life, like really kind of inspired me to get back into drawing and stuff. And I've always just loved like animation and comic books and things like that. And so I enjoy drawing on the side, and working with her on projects. We like to put our heads together about stuff she's working on, and she helps me kind of bring my ideas to life and stuff. And I definitely get a kick out of that. I need to get a iPad here pretty soon because I've been using her iPad so much to draw. There's a poster. The poster for the show we did last night, I drew that poster. She and I actually collaborated on it. So she did a little drawing on it and I did a little drawing on it, and she helped me kind of execute my design. And like, I love just like drawing like that. That definitely is very therapeutic too. It's like, it's very enjoyable.
Well, for sure, and it's very zen, right? Like you just sit down. My mother's an artist, my grandfather's an artist. He's in the Smithsonian. I'm sure they're really disappointed that I ended up being a creative through stuff like this and making shitty videos. But it's definitely something that you get something from, right? And even if your entire profession is working in the creative arts or as an artist, you can still have an outlet in a different art, right? That lets you exude some of that energy that's a whole lot different. So my thing to you, Mustang, is I want to ask, like, what would you suggest? Because I talked about earlier about those bands that are being wait staff and they're just waiting for their break. What would a suggestion that you would give to a young creative type that maybe hasn't gotten the quote unquote success that they think that they're looking for, but that can really help continue that journey forward?
I mean, let's just specifically to like music. The trickiest thing is not like getting great at your instrument, getting proficient at it, like technically having a good grasp of it. Like at a certain threshold, like everybody that's in the room at least has that in the bag. What's harder is figuring out your own thing with it and just kind of finding your own voice. I think for kind of younger creatives, like there are some people that have like what they feel like a very formed vision of what that's going to be, and there's some people who don't, are really kind of grasping and trying to figure that out, and it's kind of like the advice is like similar but opposite for both kinds of people. It's like when you feel like you have a really formed vision of what you want your music to be like and what you want it to sound like, I say, like, be rigid about your goal but be flexible about how you get there. And like, I think when you're getting started out, just trying to participate in as much stuff as you can, and then just figure out how to be more discerning with that as you go. There's a lot of gigs that I've done that weren't necessarily like my kind of thing, but later on the information and experience that I had from that helped me do something that I want to do even better. So even if you think you know exactly what you want to do, I just like challenge you to like kind of shake yourself up and try different things. But number one, like, be doing it with other people. Like, you develop so much when you play with other people, and there's kind of this temptation with technology to just kind of isolate yourself and your ideas and doing a lot of stuff yourself. But it's like, you won't be a great bass player unless you play with drummers, which means you got to go out, you got to meet drummers where drummers are, you got to go to the bars, you got to go to the jam sessions, and like, just try to connect with people. And that's the same advice for someone who doesn't really have a form, they know they're passionate, but they don't really know what direction they want to go with it. It's like, go participate in your community, play with your people, and just have an open mind and just pay attention to the stuff that excites you. Because when it comes down to creating your own music, the question that you're asking is like, what is it? And when you're sitting in a session and someone's asking you to come up with a bass line, it's the same thing. You're asking yourself, what is it? And you just have to collect a lot of experience to be able to answer that question in a deep way, I think. And yeah, man.
Dude, that's perfect. And I think that it's so important because a lot of people think that okay, well, I'm going to be a musician and I'm going to be in one band, and this one band is going to be perfect and take me off to where I want to go, when that's literally very small amount of people's progression in life, and especially as a musician. They're like, no, man, I've been in 16 bands up until this point, right? Or I've done all these different side projects or figured out what you wanted to do, and you're just picking up pieces along the way. And then what's crazy is you finally get to this point in your life and you take a look back and you're like, man, I learned so much from these moments that I really didn't think was good for me or was happy. And I always tell people, you learn more in your losses than you do in your wins. When everything's going great, cool, it's going great. But what are you really picking up, right? When you're eating shit and like dragging from place to place, it makes a huge difference. And you feel those emotions and you're like, I never want to feel that way again, right?
Yeah.
And it's fun to hear from people like you who are now on that up and up to say things like that that inspire this young next generation, because you maybe heard something like that 10 years ago, right? And you're like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And that's where it's important. And for me, like, as a fan, I just love this shit. I can't believe that I get to talk to people like you, and I feel very honored, and it's amazing. And I'm glad that you guys as fans enjoy what we're doing too. And so where can they follow you? Where can they find Horseplay? Where can they see the Cosmic Country dates? It's time to plug, Will.
All right, let's plug. You can check out, if you're just interested in what's going on with me, you can check out my website, mustangmcgee.com, and there's links to everything there. You can find me on Instagram at the Mustang McGee. I've got a YouTube channel where I'm putting all these D shows that I've been playing right now. Shout out to volume.com. They've been very courteous and giving me a lot of the footage from this stuff. I'll have the show from last night uploaded in sometime in the next couple of days, so if you want, we hit a really nice boys are back in town last night, so
I saw a video of it. It is badass.
So check that out. You can stream Horseplay wherever you get your music. I also have pretty cool vinyl copies of it for sale on my website. You can check that out.
Buy this man's merch. Buy this man's merch.
And we haven't quite announced this all the way yet, but I'll go ahead and do it here, exclusive on what's the reason for this. Again, not only did I kill Cantina Band, but so we are doing, we're going down to Jazz Fest to do the Civic Theater with Cosmic Country, but the day before that, on the 20th, Bronco and Sugar and I are doing a trio we're calling Horses, and that's a VIP event that we're doing in conjunction with the Maple Leaf. So stay tuned on an announcement about that. Yeah, we've got a whole set of music. We're getting sit-ins organized. It's going to be awesome.
That's going to be so sick.
Yeah, man. Other than that, next big Mustang show, June 13th, we're playing in Memphis at the Overton Park Band Shell, or the Levitt Shell is what it's called now. That's what they called it when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, Levitt's bought everything. It's the Levitt Pavilion here in Denver. It's Levitt Band Shell down there. But it's a hometown show in Memphis.
Yeah, that's right, on June 13th.
Let's get it. Let's pack it up. Well, Will, I can't thank you enough, buddy. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys down the road. You also have 2 huge shows at the Mishawaka coming up this summer for us.
Sure do. Yeah, check out danieldonato.com for any of our touring dates. They'll all be listed up there.
We'll get stuff done, and we'll catch you guys down the road.
Thanks, y'all.